Hello and welcome back to the brewery. Today we're going to do a breakdown on my NukaTap system. I've got one that's kind of sticky. It's been sitting without serving anything for quite a while, and I've got a spare replacement kit sitting here with parts, and it's very hard to find a breakdown on these taps for whatever reason. So I wanted to show you how it comes apart and goes back together, and hope to help you out. So anyway, I'm going to reassemble mine with the old parts, and I'll show you how that looks in a second, and we'll take it apart together. Okay, got it put back together so that I can film. I'm going to try and take it apart one-handed, but there will be parts that I need to set the camera down for, so bear with me on that. Here's the faucet, totally assembled other than this collar here. It's kind of our tension collar. I don't know the correct name for it, but that goes just below your tap handle. I've unthreaded that. Next, you'll be able to unthread this top piece, set that aside, and now we get to the first of our replaceable seals. It's a small, thick rubber seal here. That will just slide off, and we'll set that aside as well. Next, you can just pull up on this portion, and when you do that, you're going to remove this shaft as well as this top clear plastic seal. So we'll set that aside. All that's remaining is our center shuttle. That should fall out, or you might have to kind of tap it to get it out. We have the seal for the shank back here. You can just reach in and pull that out. If we unthread our attachment, typically there's one seal up in here. Mine went flying a second ago, but there's a seal up in there. A little tip for removing this seal as well as this one is if you've got one of these cheap little faucet wrenches, you can use this end of it and kind of reach in and grab those seals and just hook them out. It doesn't work great, but it works fairly well, and this is something that you should have sitting around anyway while you're doing this job. So I've got everything out except this last plastic seal. So I'm just going to reach in, and it will require two hands, but I'll just kind of pick around at that and get that to pop out. So here's a look at everything disassembled. I've kind of done my own exploded view. Remember, this one gasket flew across the shop here for me, so that will be missing in this diagram here. You should have one there as well. Again, we've got our shank seal, the shuttle. We have two of these nylon seals on either side of the ball, and one black seal up there. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the new stuff, clean this all up with Star Sand, and we will reassemble together. Here are all the parts that come in your replacement seal kit. You get a new shuttle, two of those new nylon washers, the small rubber washer that goes above these, this for our attachment, and this for our shank attachment. So reassembly is pretty simple. I'm going to start with putting my shuttle in place, and this will go with the large opening towards the top. So this is what it would look like facing up. So we can just slide that in, and you want to push it in until you see that opening poking through. Then we'll take one of our nylon washers, and these have a cupped side and a flat side. We're going to put the flat side down and press that in. Try and get it evenly if we can. Just enough to get it started, like so is good. We can take this shaft, and with the flat sides lined up with the shuttle, so those go on the sides, left and right, we should be able to lower that down into the shuttle and then press down. What we're doing is pressing and seating that nylon washer that we already placed. So that's seated down in there now. Everything moves freely so far. Take our other nylon washer with the cupped side down now. What the cupped side does is surrounds the ball on the handle here. So we want that down, and this will seat down in that same area. I guess if it gives you an idea of how easy this is, I'm doing it one-handed somewhat. So as soon as I say that, I'm going to have to shut the camera off and get this washer seated. So it should be looking like this so far. Make sure that we still have movement. We do. We can take our smaller of the two small washers. This is the thicker and smaller one. And that goes down like so. And then you can put the, what I'm calling the friction cap on there. And this is where I ran into issues before. With my old gaskets, I was not able to tighten this down and still have my faucet return with my spring return. Like so. We'll take our last small washer and seat it up above the attachment here. That'll kind of fall into a channel up there. And you can thread in whichever attachment you're using. And finally, our gasket for the connection to the beer shank goes right in there. I'll just thread this down with the cupped side down, flat side up. Something like that. And if you're using the self-closing spring, it will only fit one way. The large end will not go into the faucet. You can see it's tapered, it's large on the left, small on the right. The small end will go in and surround that shuttle. Then we'll simply slide this onto our shank and tighten down the faucet nut. Last thing to check is just that your faucet operates. Obviously, if you're not using the self-closing spring, you want to make sure with beer attached that it shuts itself off when you kick it backwards and that it stays on when you pull it forwards without having this collar too tight, because if I tighten that too much, it will hang up and stay half open. Just do a little test here with my cleaning water. Problem solved.